I'm very happy to be here with you, to be here in Oslo, and to be celebrating freedom with you. It's especially important for me today, and it's especially important for my country, for Georgia, because we are now experiencing probably one of the most difficult times, at least in recent history. Yesterday, Georgia was the beacon of democracy. Yesterday, it was a front runner among neighboring countries on the European integration path. It was a model of reform and transformation in the Caucasus and the wider region. All of that despite the Russian aggression of 2008, despite the fact that 20% of its territory is occupied by Russia until today. Georgia managed to maintain its sovereignty, its freedom, and was progressing in the building of a democratic state and of democratic institutions. But very quickly, in a couple of years, what happened is the capture of democracy, the capture of a state, the alienation and subjugation of a population. And it happened very fast, reaching now the point when we have to save ourselves or submit to dictatorship. It looks like a common story these days that we see, unfortunately, developing in many countries where democracy is eroded and replaced by more or less autocratic regime. It follows classical stages which we have gone through in Georgia: erosion of justice, the whole justice system from local courts to the constitutional court, which I saw during my impeachment procedures, has fallen under one-party control. 100% of the sentences follow the prosecutor's request. You all know what that means. Growing numbers of appeals to the European Court of Human Rights is also another measure. And only one judge considered as receivable one of the many hundreds of appeals after the 2024 elections. Repressive legislation is being adopted every other day in a very limited time, 2 days usually in the parliament, against NGOs, against media, against civil society, against all forms of support of funding to the NGOs. It's a classical Russian handbook. Criminalization of peaceful dissent to the point today of absurdity that you can be fined and arrested for standing on the sidewalk. Censorship of public and online space. Facebook posts used to dismiss people from public jobs. Now there is a special institution created to follow on the Facebook post. Again, Russian typical handbook. One-party control on all institutions: government, municipalities, parliament, central bank, electoral commission, regulatory commissions, state channels, and progressively putting pressure on large, medium, and small businesses. Interdiction of political parties, de facto, and probably soon de jure, because the Constitutional Court has to statute on that. And concentration of powers in one party and one man. That one man has just declared a 50 kilometers radius no-fly zone over his private property. That shows. This, of course, translates in numbers and facts. Since 2024, 181 journalists have been injured, 26 detained, 20 media outlets closed, 56 prisoners of conscience are in jail for already 18 months. Almost all political party leaders and many political activists have been arrested at times, and many are still in jail. Among them, I want to identify two women that have become symbols of resilience. Zia Marlobeli, Sakharov Prize winner, journalist arrested for just reacting to the insults of one policeman, and political leader Elena Khoshtaria, arrested for having written Russians on an electoral banner. After 570 days, the people that you can see on these slides behind me are still protesting every day, every night, and will continue protesting to defend their independence and democratic and European future. And their motto today is Bolomde, which means until the end. But what I want you to understand maybe better is that what is at stake here is not only a tragic story of a democratic backsliding in one country, my country. It's more than the state of democracy in Georgia, more than these inner political battles. This is an existential question. For us, for my country, it is to be or not to be, and one that challenges many others, much beyond Georgia, for it's a decisive fight for the future of democracy of our region and beyond. What happened in Georgia does not result of the freely expressed will of its people that would have chosen a more conservative, more autocratic regime. It results from rigged elections that in 2024, with the support of Russian propaganda, money, and Russian electoral technology, with the use of local security apparatus and structures, managed to corrupt and steal the elections. It was a full-fledged and well-planned Russian Spets operation, elements of which we have seen elsewhere already, Moldova, Romania, Hungary. We are seeing that in action today in Armenia, and I hope that the outcome will be different. We have seen to a certain extent elements of that in Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, or even further. Georgia is unfortunately the one example where that new Russian strategy, non-military strategy, hybrid strategy, has been allowed to partly succeed, at least until now. Seeing the efforts that are today deployed for other countries, high-level visits, open public support by pro-European leaders, I can only regret that we did not benefit of this treatment back in 2024, probably because it was a real test case in Georgia, and that test case we have already seen earlier on in 2008. We were for Russia the test case of military intervention. Many people after that were saying, well, we should have seen it coming. We would have seen it coming in Crimea, we would have seen it coming in Ukraine in 2022, but they didn't see it coming. And I hope it's not going to be the case this time, that some people in a few years would say, well, we should have seen it coming in Georgia in 2024. Because there is not much resistance except ours to this strategy in Georgia. And it's the power today of one anti-European, anti-Western, pro-Russian party that is implementing directly the main Russian interests and priorities, which is abolish democracy in Georgia that could inspire others in the region, undermine independence and sovereignty of the country, and weaken and sever ultimately all links with the Western partners, thus closing the path to Euro-Atlantic integration. And we see how this is exactly the same objective as the one we see through war in Ukraine. The question is if that strategy, that hybrid strategy, can even partly succeed in a country that has been fighting for its freedom and independence for centuries, that knows and has known Russian all kinds of aggressions and occupations in 1801, 1921, 1989, 1992, and 2008. If that can happen there, then how can we expect others to resist better? So the question for all of us is how to resist this strategy. And I would plead for Georgia by saying that in the same way as Europe has finally come to terms with military imperialism of Russia, realized the true nature of Russia and its aggressivity through Ukraine and through the aggression against Ukraine, and understood that Ukrainians are really fighting the war of everybody else, the West has now to acknowledge, recognize, and understand Russian hybrid strategy while it's still time, and start thinking about means to defend and repel. So Georgia needs your understanding that Georgia represents the other side of the same coin that Ukraine is fighting with arms. We are resisting to a silent takeover through a hybrid war, using democratic institutions, and that is what is pervert, elections, social networks, and now artificial intelligence against democracies and their freedom, and a strategy that is not limited geographically. Understanding also that Georgia's civil society's resilience matters for regional stability, matters for the Caucasus, matters for the ultimate success of Armenia on its path to democracy and Europe. It matters for the Black Sea, for it to become truly a European sea, one for stability, cooperation, and connectivity, as is defined in the European Black Sea Strategy. Understanding that Georgia's civil society and its unyielding protest is important to avoid a Russian victory over the West that would counterbalance the strategic defeat that Russia is experiencing in Ukraine, I hope tomorrow in Armenia, in Syria and elsewhere, and the loss of prestige and the erosion of Russia's invincibility image. Our Georgian resistance is fighting on two fronts: domestic authoritarianism and dictatorship, supported by Russian interference. Understanding finally that every time the international community looks away, it weakens the spirit of resilience, and it rewards the Russian interference, and it rewards autocrats. So what Georgia needs from the international community is no charity, no pity, nor to fight our war instead of us, nor to support politicians once they have left the country and are in exile. But we need support for those that here and now continue to fight for the values of democracy and freedom and Georgia's European future. So the demands of the Georgian population should be upheld, and that is release of the prisoner of conscience and the political prisoners, demands for free and fair elections. The international community then has to create new models for an effective prevention and monitoring and defense of the fairness of the elections. And third, withdrawal of repressive laws against free media and peaceful protest. We also need from you contacts with the civil society and the resistance movement, maintained and developed, and maybe finding new channels, because by now the authorities of this autocratic state have found ways through laws to limit almost all channels that existed before. Attention and attention is very important, should not wither away. Business as usual should not be restored with illegitimate authorities. And all contacts that are deemed necessary should be very clearly negotiated against some concrete concessions in the fields of human rights, political rights, and essential freedom. No handshaking for nothing. In conclusion, democratic countries should start thinking and working on how to defend effectively against elections interference. The old ways and means of the OSCE are not sufficient anymore. Propaganda through social network, use and abuse of financial networks, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence, for the next battle will have to be won together and has to be prepared today. At a very high cost, Georgians, ordinary people, are resisting and fighting a battle that will determine their future, knowing that nobody can nor will fight their battle. But they are counting on your attention, they're counting on your understanding, on your continuous solidarity and respect for your own principles when dealing with dictators and autocrats. For this battle, in the end, is our common battle in a world where democracy and freedom cannot be defeated in one place without affecting all others. Thank you.